Hello and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is host Eric, and today in this episode we're going to try to stay on topic, and we're going to try to stay on a pleasant topic that's not too racy, namely the topic of actualization. Now, normally when people talk about actualization, they mean any number of different things. What I'm talking about specifically is related to the Jungian cognitive function model, in that I'm talking about type actualization. The reality that for any given individual, how they can best manifest who they are is going to be related to the cognitive functions that they're using and their stack and their strengths and their limits accordingly. So that actualization for an ESFP is going to be different than actualization for an ENTP and so forth. In my opinion, I'm going to start with my thoughts on INTP and maybe get Lorenz Walker to join in on this. In my opinion, the INTP actualizes by becoming increasingly effective as they grow older, and by becoming increasingly secure in their inner world. So I want to know what you think about that definition of actualization for the INTP, Lorenz Walker.
Yeah, I think I agree with that because I think it's putting all the deliberation and executing it, putting it into execution.
Okay. So it's going to be
all that time that you've spent trying to.
It's going to be getting that SE thing in order, huh? Okay. So what else do we think about for Hami? For you, if you are, do you believe that there's something to be actually called actualization, that there's something to be attained, or if it's just an ongoing process of getting more comfortable with yourself, or what? Is this something that INTJ thinks about, or do you have a clear vision of what INTJ actualization would look like?
Actualization is just developing, right?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of different sort of cultural notions that there's some state of being that one might reach. Something like enlightenment or something, right? We know that there's a thing that some people believe in called enlightenment. You may or may not believe in that, but the question then is does such a state exist? Is it possible to achieve something like that? Or is that just an absurd notion that, in fact, a process precludes some sort of status attainment of that sort? Anybody's welcome to offer thoughts on this, if you have any, on that question, before we move down to the other types, specifically about how they might be more or further along in self-development.
About actualization, that was the question?
Yeah, the first question being, is it possible, are those things just, what are those things? Those notions of like being actualized or being enlightened, having achieved enlightenment. Are they actual states of being that one can attain? Does it describe anything actual, or is it just some sort of aspirational notion that people can somehow finally get it all figured out? In reality, nobody ever does.
I mean, I don't think there's any like universal standard for enlightenment, but if for me, enlightenment would be like getting to a point where I understand myself enough to basically predict my behavior and understand the origin and the cause of my actions, or even get to the point where I'm like, I don't have to fucking worry about my cause reactions. Basically understand my weakness, my weaknesses, flesh them out, and not have something linger around my head. It's like, you need to make this better about yourself, or accomplish this, or do that.
Well, I want to read Omni's comment here, which I think is really interesting. Enlightenment or active portrayal of your highest self, is there a difference? Well, I think it's interesting you use the word portrayal. I think, manifestation would be less FE biased. To call it a portrayal is to imply that that our public persona is the same as our authentic self, which I think most people would disagree with. I want to know if JC has any thoughts on actualization for the ESFP type.
Actualization for ESFP. Tony Robbins. Do you guys know who Tony Robbins is?
I'm familiar with the name and I know what he does, but don't think I've ever actually listened to any of his stuff.
I mean, he's like, I don't really like listen to him, but I like to think he's like the perfect mix between an ESFP and an ENTJ. I don't know which one he actually is. Celebrity Types has him typed as an ESFP. And I think that is like, I think every ENFP and ESFP should reach for some type of combo, some type of middle ground.
I see.
For us, I guess that would mean being better able to prioritize things that are TE like. I guess. I don't know.
Are you suggesting you should spend less time on talking with famous people, JC?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's other things in other parts of my life that I should probably be doing.
Okay, we're having our normal JC audio issues, JC. If you can get right up on the mic, I'd appreciate it.
Sorry. I think, I don't think there's anything that I need to be doing less of, actually. I think I just need to be doing more of a lot of other things.
I think that's good advice in general. That when you do more, some of the stuff gets accommodated. You know, so it's like it doesn't mean cutting shit out. It means, well, in this particular instance, I wasn't home, available to go talk to Eric. I'm talking to famous people because I was out doing something else. It's not an exclusionary thing, you know. It just sort of happens like that. So anyway, let's talk next to Omnia. You say manifesting your highest self. I want to know more about what you mean by highest self, though. How do we know what our highest self is? What do you think the highest self for your type is? I'm sorry, I forgot again what your type is. I think you said you were ENTP or INTP? Anybody else have any thoughts on the highest self? Plebeian Eric, you want to get in on this? Or Kibi Sauce?
I'm reading off of the self-actualization Wikipedia, and it says Maslow's hierarchy, or Maslow's characteristics of self-actualizers. Self-actualizer is a person who is living creatively and fully using his or her potentials. What a man can do, he must do. It refers to the desire for self-fulfillment, namely to the tendency for him to become actualized in what he is potentially.
But, I mean, that's a tricky definition. Go ahead. Sorry, JC.
Is it like living up to your potential?
That's basically what it says there. But the problem I have with that is, from an ENTP perspective, we have the potential to do a lot of different things. Which ones are we going to do? And that's something we wrestle with constantly. And I think the answer might be, well, you have the potential to narrow the field. That's the potential you need to fulfill. To narrow the field and execute a plan. Execute a course of action. So, maybe that's the answer to that. Okay, other thoughts on actualization and fulfilling your potential. How do you think your potential is different, JC, as an ESFP than, say, Lorenz Walker's as an INTP? Where do you think your potentials differ? Or is that going to be individuated so much that it's not so much type-specific as individual-specific?
I don't know if it's type-specific or individualized. I think there is a heavy correlation between type and like maybe it is heavily related to type.
For
I
you,
think
do you feel as though your potential is primarily in music? You'd like to see yourself professionally accomplished more as a musician?
Yeah, I think my potential is in performing in general. Um, the performing arts, like theater, acting, singing, dancing.
Well, that is your
um,
type specialty.
Go ahead.
That's it.
I mean,
And I was good at that, especially in high school. I mean, I'm still good at that, but I haven't really actively participated in that. So,
Well, it may not seem like much, JC, but collaborating with me on at least one song is more than zero. And it may not seem like high potential, but remember my method is to throw shitloads of seeds everywhere. And then some of them are bound to sprout, right? It's a good idea to do. So I'd say more rather than better is always a good motto for people who are feeling as though they might feel more fulfilled if they did more of their potential. Other thoughts on this topic?
how would you? Sorry, Plebeian Eric said I'd like to continue developing my TI. How would you go about doing that? How you go about developing TI?
Oh, Hami. There. I muted him. That was Hami visiting us with some music. We should push the bounds of perfection further. Never stagnate in its contentment. Just learning more and sticking with my INTP buddy. Sticking with your INTP buddy is a good idea. We should push the bounds of perfection further, never stagnate in its contentment. Well, I mean, here's the thing. We can ascribe to it, and occasionally we can even feel as though we mean it in very small pieces of media. I think I got close with one video that's under 2 minutes for my standards, which is this song called "If a Week Ago Were an Open Flower," and it's a very short video, and it feels pretty perfect to me as far as videos go. The video feels right. The song is recorded really present. It's like super present sounding and super big sounding. I don't know what I did that time to make it sound like that. But so yeah, it's like that really nailed it for me. But that's a freak occurrence. I've got 1,700 videos up. I can name one that I think comes close to perfection. Well, I mean, you know what? There's another one that's a clip video that I made that's about 5 minutes long. It's the first clip video I made. And I forget what it's called, but that's also pretty close to perfect in my opinion, for my own standards. But again, that's my standards. I'm sure lots of people can find plenty of flaws with it. I work in a TI heavy field, so if I want to be better at my job, I'll need to develop TI more. Alright, so you have concrete aspirations and goals that require you to develop certain aspects of yourself over others to fulfill your potential given the field that you're working in. And of course that's also a consideration, is actualization having the extent to which actualization has to do with context, or the extent to which it might be better to modify context to match potentialities or something like that. Trenton, do you have any thoughts on that? The difference between modifying context and modifying behavior, like for somebody like an ENTP who has trouble narrowing down which potentialities to assert themselves at. Do you have any thoughts on that issue in general?
Yeah, it depends on the context, but I think they should go in an order, and that one should modify the boundaries of which restrain them as an individual without any influence from external factors or things like the context, like why are you improving yourself? Like are you improving SE because you're playing a sport? Are you improving ENTP because you're in a manager position. Those kind of things should come second in improving the idea of yourself. In that you should go in an order where there is a certain way and a certain order that you would develop functions in that. Like, let's say if I was going to develop my functions, I should go NETI, FE, SI, and then so on. And I don't think I could do that successfully if I acted within the context of what one would consider what the conventional standards of us being successful is. I think that should come second.
Well, I mean, I think you need to worry about. I think one quality of the ENTP is most of us. I think by the time we're defined as ENTP, then thereafter some of us have a really rough go of it. But up until the point when we define ourselves as ENTP, we're well taken care of. We're really well taken care of, and I think we can tend to neglect practical concerns and to underweight them. So, just a thought. Okay. I mean, I know I can still to this day.
I eat really fast. I do that.
You eat really fast?
I do SI things very quickly. Like anything sensory, I do it very quickly. If I'm doing a job, I try to do it as fast as possible. If I'm eating, I don't even acknowledge what I'm tasting, what I'm eating. I just like swallow it whole, and it's my objective to eat food, not to sit here and marinate how good it tastes. I just want to consume the food, get on with the next ordeal.
It's a waste of time. That's the problem.
It is I will attempt eating while driving. I'll be driving my knees, trying to
oh yeah, always eat in the car. That's the thing. My ex-wife and I used to get in this conflict all the time. She wanted to go home and eat together at the table, and I would say, "No, Candace, I don't want to fucking go eat at the table. I want to eat it not now when I'm hungry. I want to eat it right now in the car, and then we can be done with the whole eating thing." She didn't like that, you know. And the thing is, I was like, "Look, if we want to go do something together, let's go do something together. I don't want to sit down and eat at the table together. There's no. I mean, occasionally I would like to do it, and I would certainly try to be fair. Sometimes I would say, okay, fine, let's eat at the table. But she wanted it to be like a general rule that you don't start eating when you get your food from the drive-thru in the car. You wait till you get home. And I just did not like that at all.
I would be eating the food before I even get out, like from the window area. I would already start not because I'm hungry, but the way I've learned to manage eating is because I don't ever like say, "Oh, I'm hungry now. It's time to eat." I don't rely on that.
I'm gonna pull us back, Trenton. I'm gonna pull us back. So I would suggest that for an ENTP, one way that they can actualize better is to be more understanding and more cooperative with other people in their eating expectations, and to understand that we are the freaks here who don't ever want to spend any time eating. Okay. I mean, this is my experience, only my experience, but I just want to bring us back on the topic of actualization so we don't get totally off topic here, which I tend to do. Contract under Guadalupe First Seal. Do you have anything to say about actualization for your type? I forget what type you are. I'll take that as a no. Any other thoughts on actualization? Hami, I had you muted. I'm going to unmute you now. Or I'm going to try anyway. Not successfully do so. You can unmute yourself, I think. But, okay. So, then we'll draw this video to a close. I think it was quite a successful video in general. Yes, Trenton, last thoughts?
What does it mean to actualize externally? What do you mean when you say that?
All right, well, let's address that then. Let's address that then. I mean, this is...
so big. I don't understand.
This is... I got this from Caroline Zykowski or whatever her name is. I don't remember her exact name. I'll try to remember to link to her as well in this video. But the idea that we need to define ourselves through the feedback of others, basically. And that we understand ourselves best through some mechanism like this, where we are doing a lot of work that involves public presentation. And that when we do so, we come to understand which aspects of ourselves complement with others well and provide us good outcomes, and which aspects of ourselves others find abrasive. And we tend to figure out ways in which we can in which we can collapse our contradictory impulses into a unified whole. So that initially our contradictory impulses are as follows: but I'm right, they're wrong, and much more important that that be established than anything else. Versus, but I really want to be liked. And so we have to find a way to collapse those things, and we do that externally. That it's only through the feedback of other people that we learn. We can't do it internally. We lack the tools to do so because one of our judging functions, our internal judging functions, is our very weakest function.
And one of the about that. Well, when I think back on an event where I've said something that might have been considered abrasive, there's one rule I have to where I always know I was abrasive is if I cannot remember how I acted in the moment. And when I think back to when I was like, I've been thinking about the when I flipped out for no reason on the JC thing. I still can't.
Did you? Listen, hold on, Trenton. Let me before you. You don't know yet. That's the point. You don't know. You haven't watched the video yet.
No, I'm worried about it. I can't remember.
You're worried about it.
That bad?
Listen, that's the point. That's the point. We don't know until we watch the video.
I have no idea.
It's true.
You simply are excited and wanted to get your point across very zealously when I had yet to make mine.
I was wrong. I'll say that now. I was wrong.
Trenton, we get it. You're excused. You're fully excused. We all like you. It's cool. Don't stress.
I wasn't offended, I promise.
These are the contradictory impulses that we have to collapse, right? And we do need to. What's amazing is that Trenton has learned this so young. It took me a lot longer than you to learn to say what you just said. You know, I'm wrong. That's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant. But the point is, that's what we have to learn to collapse, so that we're not such a jumpy mess, right? Because that's the bottom line. Is we by nature we are, because we don't get it. We don't understand what it is that you are so upset about. We don't understand why we fucked up again. You know, and it's like. We sit home and we go like, oh my God, I fucked up again. I don't know what I did. Why did I do that? What's wrong with me? And coming to terms with that whole thing is a challenge. It's a big challenge.
It's living in the complete and utter abstract, and then that's why I'm so unconscious of anything I'm doing physically or ENTPs in general, is because we don't live here. This is not where we are. We're not here. We are not governed by the immediate sensory environment.
But listen, Trenton, I used to be so much more fidgety on camera. I used to move around so much more. But I don't so much anymore. I'm a lot more still. And the reason for that is because I am actualizing externally. I'm actualizing by watching myself on video and going, oh, that time, Eric, that was you came off really mean and bad and awful. And this time, Eric, you came out fine, and people are going to think you're a decent person, you know. And you can figure out how to be smart and often feel like, at least, even if we're wrong, but often feel like we're the smartest person in the room, and not act like it in a way that others find infuriating is a challenge. So let's end this video on that hopefully positive note. And thanks for watching Talking with Famous People, and of course, use that memory. Remember that dairy product I always talk to you about. It's cheese. It's in your fridge right now. Go have some. JC, I'm going to go ahead and give you a pass on the dairy cheese. You can have your non-dairy cheese. I know you are not a big fan of the dairy. But for the rest of you out there, please don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.